Welcome to week 6, and this week we're going to look at multimedia learning and principles. So this week you're going to really get into Adobe Captivate. Great job with your first checkpoint. It was helpful for me to make sure that you are all able to successfully apply a theme, use Captivate, publish, and also upload to the website. These are all things you're going to need to do as you wrap up your project, and I wanted to make sure you had this foundation before we move forward. This week we only have one objective, and it's a pretty big objective, and that's going to be applying multimedia principles to your e-learning module. So this week we're going to do things a little bit differently with the reading assignments. You only have one required reading, and that's going to be chapter 15 in Clark and Mayer, and it's going to be about guidelines for e-learning navigation. It's really important that you read this chapter and read it closely because it's going to inform the work that you're doing this week for your individual project. I've also given you several multimedia principles in Clark and Mayer. I know that several of you have experience with instructional design, and I also know that some of you have some previous experience with Adobe Captivate. I'm going to give you the option of reading the chapters that you think are most applicable to the work that you're going to do. My expectation is that you will be able to demonstrate the different multimedia principles. However, I understand that for some of your projects, not every multimedia principle will be applicable. I encourage you to skim each of the abstracts and first summaries of each of the chapters and then identify the chapters that are going to be most helpful for you for your individual project. I've also included a short resource regarding best practices in multimedia learning. I encourage you to review these, as it's going to be important that you're able to demonstrate multimedia principles in your project. This week with your lynda.com tutorials, I encourage you to pay close attention to Section 3, which is use of assets and interactions, and Section 4, which is working with multimedia. These two sections are going to be vitally important for your individual project and specifically your checkpoint number 2. And checkpoint number 2 is the most critical checkpoint that you're going to have for your project. This project is going to require that by Sunday you will have made any corrections from your checkpoint 1 feedback. I've reviewed all your submissions and I have provided feedback of things that I suggest that you change. Please pay close attention to those and make those changes before you move on to working on checkpoint number 2. By the end of this week, the majority of your instructional content should be in your module. I should be able to get a very good sense of how you're structuring your module and where your gaps are going to be. I need to see this information because I can give you the feedback that will allow you to make the corrections so as you move forward you're able to advance and get a higher score on your individual project. I need to see that you have created all the slides for your content. So it is possible that you may not have finalized your content, but there should at least be a slide that can be part of that navigation. Your navigation should all work. You should be able to go to each page, you should be able to go back and forward, and the menu on the left-hand side for your table of contents should work. You also should customize your template. I know that in the first checkpoint I did not require you to change any colors or change anything. If you're going to customize your template, this is the time to do it. Make sure you've changed the colors and make sure you're consistently applying it. You're going to want to use the slide master function, similar to what we did with our PowerPoint design activities, to make sure you're consistently applying those different changes. Also this week, it's going to be important that you've embedded at least one YouTube video or another video being used. So if in the nature of your content, it's going to be most applicable for you to do some kind of screencast, that is totally acceptable and you can embed that video this week as well. But there should be at least one video that I can see that has been correctly embedded within your module. And finally, you need to have some interaction elements. These elements can take different shapes and different sizes. You're going to need to have some interaction elements, and I'm going to need to see those this week. So let's talk a bit about the interactions. When I say interactions, I mean items that appear under the interactions drop down in Captivate, specifically the drag and drop in the learning interactions. It is possible this week that you have not quite customized or tweaked everything and made it perfect, but you need to at least have them inserted so I can tell what you're attempting to do, so I can give you feedback on that. Within your module, you need to have at least one of the interactions that appears in this drop-down. It can be the accordion, the tabs, the process circle. There is something you need to add. There is every content that you have, every topic will be able to use at least one of these, if not more. I encourage you to experiment and add these elements to your module and also work on customizing and changing the colors. Your only assignment that you're submitting is going to be checkpoint number 2, and that's going to be due on Sunday. Please pay close attention to what the requirements are for you to receive full credit. So moving along, here's where we are right now. We're at checkpoint 2, which is going to be due on Sunday. We've already completed checkpoint 1, and next up was going to be the quizzing. It's very important that you nail this checkpoint because your quizzing is going to be linked to whatever your content is. I'm not going to be able to evaluate if your quizzing has effectively matched your learning objectives if we haven't added that content, which is why checkpoint number 2 is so important.